All right, so for example number one, all they want us to do is to solve this absolute value inequality. Now, if you remember, anytime you solve an absolute value, you need to break it up into two different parts. Okay? The first one looks very normal, so negative 2x greater than or equal to 8. Okay, that one looks very normal. It's just like if I remove the absolute value function. And then the second one starts off looking like the first one, but then we got to change the inequality. So notice it's now facing left instead of right. And then you got to make the number at the end, you got to change its sign. Now you solve both of these and then you're done. Now I'm going to tell you that the number one mistake that was happening on the quiz last time is that a lot of people were not changing the inequality when they divided by a negative number. Okay? So right here, if I divide by a negative 2, I'm going to get x and then less than or equal to. Okay? And then this will be a negative 4. Okay, so I'm going to kind of highlight that for you guys on the notes just so you can see it changed. A lot of you guys weren't doing that. So even though you were getting all the right letters, you were getting the right numbers, you weren't getting the right symbol, and then when you would draw your picture, it would come out messed up. Okay? So that was one of the issues. So right here, we have to make sure that we change the inequality, okay? Now, we're going to have to do that on the other side as well because we have a division by a negative 2. So when we do that, we have to switch it up, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. We'll divide by a negative 2, and we get x greater than or equal to 4, okay? So again, I'm just going to kind of highlight that just to call your attention to the fact that you did have to switch it around, okay? No, this is not ors or ands. That's a good question. Yeah, we're well, at least in the beginning, they don't have it for us. Now, when we graph it, it would be good for us to know, though. So yeah, so what would be your call for this, or and? This is an or problem. Yeah. So this would be an or problem at this point right here. Okay. So let's go ahead and graph this thing. Now, just so you guys know, the first two problems on your quiz, you guys are going to have to draw the graphs yourself. So you get to choose kind of where you're going to start, where you're going to end. But notice I have to make sure I include a negative 4 and a positive 4. If I want to do this kind of like the lazy way, I'm going to go ahead and do 0 here, and then I'm just going to go to 4 and 8, negative 4, negative 8. Okay? So I can do it that way. You guys can do it that way. However you want. Just make sure that both answers are there, negative 4 and 4. Now, if you look at your first answer, x less than or equal to negative 4, I'm going to draw a solid or an empty circle on the x less than or equal to. Yeah, solid. Thank you. And then which way am I going for the first one, the one on the left? Left, right? So there we go. And then for the other one, x greater than or equal to 4, solid or empty? Solid at 4. Which direction? To the right, okay? So there you go. There's your answer. Again, you get to draw your own graph. So if you want to be real lazy and just go like this, negative 4 and 4, I'm okay with that. Just make sure you have the two answers there and you're drawing it correctly, okay? You can draw it as nice as you want or as simple as you want. That's completely up to you. Again, the first two questions. Any questions on this one? Gotta flip them. Yeah, you have to flip them. I know a lot of people got a little confused with the first question from the last quiz when I said, when do you flip it? And people were saying, when the x is on the right, right? So people would say, oh, now you got to flip the sign. Well, that's true because you flip the whole problem. But that's not necessarily something you must do. That's just something you might want to do, right? But you must switch the sign when you divide both sides by a negative or if you multiply both sides by a negative. Yeah. So it could be division or multiplication. If you divide or multiply both sides by a positive, you do not flip signs.
Even if they're going the same direction.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, no flipping signs. The only time that your sign gets affected is when you're dividing or multiplying by a negative number. Both sides have to be multiplied or divided by a negative. And yeah, I can tell you right now that most of the mistakes on most of the quizzes occurred because of that. The signs weren't getting switched. And one of the, I mean, I don't want to say funny, haha, like I'm laughing at you, but just funny as in, wow, that's kind of weird, is a lot of people knew, you know, the very first question, when do you switch it? You guys put the right answer when you divide or multiply by a negative number. But then in the work, you never did it. So you knew you had to, but you just forgot to do it, right? It's a very easy thing to forget, so just be careful with that. Whoa, that's kind of odd. Give me a second here. That shouldn't be that close. Oh well. I'm just going to do the work on the side. I got to fix that later on. I thought I put way more space in between that. So, all right, let's do the work right here towards the side, okay? Like right there. So I want to solve that one. So 6 plus x is in my absolute value less than or equal to 10. Okay? So 6 plus x is in the absolute value less than or equal to 10. Now remember, you got to break this apart, right? Now, by the way, is this an and or an or problem? I think I heard someone say it. Go ahead. It's pointing to the left, and, right? This is an and problem. Okay? So, all right. Now that I have that, at least I know it's supposed to go towards each other. So I'm going to break this up into two problems. 6 plus x is less than or equal to 10. And 6 plus x is greater than or equal to negative 10. Okay? Now solve both sides. Now notice I'm not going to divide by a negative number. I'm just going to subtract. So that's okay. I don't have to do anything in terms of switching the sign. So I get x less than or equal to 4. And then for the other one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to subtract 6. So I get x greater than or equal to negative 16. So I'm going to show you one of those lazy graphs that I tell you that usually that's what I like to do because I don't need to be drawing a whole bunch of numbers all over the place. So I'm just going to kind of do this lazy-ish way. So my 0 is going to be somewhere around here, my 4 is going to be somewhere around here, and my negative 16 is going to be somewhere around there. Okay? So I'm going to do it like that. I mean, that may not be perfect, but you get the idea. Negative 16 is way further out than 4 would be to 0, right? Once you have that, let's start drawing. So x less than or equal to 4. So less than or equal to 4, you're going to do a solid dot at 4 going to the left. X greater than or equal to negative 16, so solid dot at negative 16 going to the right. Now a lot of you guys missed points on this as well. You did everything right up to this point, and then you forgot to give me your final answer. Now some of you guys did this, and I felt like, okay, I get it, that's good enough. But in reality, you got to redraw because this is an and problem. So you got to give me the actual and solution, which means the one in red. Okay, I need to see that one. That connects both of them. Okay, so don't just draw them going across each other. You got to tell me this is what they have in common. That's what and means, right? They have something in common. Questions on that one?
For the and problem, what was the one that you had like marked the entire surface they covered?
Oh, that's an or. And if that wasn't, so look at the blue and the green. Sometimes an or will come out like the blue and the green, and they'll cross over each other. Or doesn't need to have things in common. Whatever they touch is the answer. So since they're going this way and crossing over everything, then you draw the whole line. Yeah, I don't think there's anything like that on the quiz. Anything else?
What if there's an and problem and they're facing away from each other?
So usually if there's an and problem and they're facing away from each other, I would tell you double check your work, make sure that you did everything right. And if you did and they're not meeting each other, what do they have in common? Nothing. So your solution is no solution, right? Because they don't have anything in common. So yeah, But usually the and problems are not set up like that in Algebra 2 and Algebra 1. They might do that for you guys in college just to mess with you, to see. But usually we're not trying to trick you when we're teaching you Math 3, Math 1, Math 2. So yeah, we don't try to put those in there very much. All right. So solving this inequality and graphing, like I said, this is one of these that's kind of on the harder side. By the way, just so you know, I think 4 and 5 are pretty quick. Okay, so don't worry. It's not. I know it's going kind of slow at first, but these are the harder ones that we're doing. But 4 and 5, these are just kind of looking at a picture and giving me the slope. And then 6 is just calculating the slope. So right now I'll show you that. So that's pretty easy. It's just a formula. And then 7 is a little bit of work, but not much. So the first 3 problems for sure take the longest. So don't feel like, man, 7 problems is going to take forever. No, the first 3 will, because they do have more work. All right. So we have this problem, and I think for these they do give you an actual graph for this one. You may not have to do it yourself. Okay. But if they don't, just draw one out. I can't recall what they were giving you guys. So give me a second. All right, so I'm gonna kind of speed it up, guys. I apologize. All right. So to solve this, I gotta get rid of all the stuff around the absolute value. So let me go ahead and add the 5 first. Okay. Again, I'm just adding to both sides, so no need to switch signs for this. Okay. So that's gonna give me a -3 absolute value of v minus 2 greater than 30. Okay, so far no switching signs. But now notice, in order to get rid of that -3 that's multiplying the absolute value, I'm going to have to divide both sides, right? Divide both sides by -3. So that gives me the absolute value of v minus 2 less than -10. I'm going to highlight that really quick. So now I get to solve. Okay, now I get to solve. But here's an issue that I just realized. Can my absolute value be less than a -10? No, absolute value should always be greater than 0, or 0 to greater than 0, right? Greater than or equal to 0. So this has no solution. Whoops. Anything negative. So -1, -2, -3. Yeah, after you simplify it all, if there's still a negative on the right side, then there's no way an absolute value can be less than -10, right? It's a negative number, so it needs to be positive. Now, if at this point the number on the right side was, say, a +10, then you just do it the way we did example 2. Just break it up, solve, and graph. Okay? So, but in this case, this one was a no solution, so it's one of those little things that you kind of have to write on your notes, like, hey, make sure that when you're done, that your absolute value is actually positive. Because if it's not, then you can write no solution. Questions on this one? So notice we added 5, no switching of signs. We divided by -3, we did switch signs, right? And then at that point, we found out that we couldn't do the problem. Well, not anymore. Okay, finding slopes. Okay, finding slopes. So if you look at this graph right here, okay, example number 4. To find the slopes, it's rise over run or fall over run. But if you're falling, that means it's a negative slope. So is this line right here negative or a positive slope, for example 4? Negative, right? So your answer needs to have a minus. So I'm going to write m equals minus. And then I'm going to do a little fraction. Well, not yet, but remember, it's supposed to be fall over run. Okay, so I'm going to write fall over run. Now, to go from the point on the top left to the point on the bottom right, how many times do I fall? 2 times, right? I fall 2 times. So I'm going to go down 2 times. So from here to here, that's 2. So I'm going to write m equals -2 over. Now, from this point here, right at the end, let me put like a little X for you here. Over to the blue dots, how many times do I have to go to the right?
5.
Let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 4 times. So 1 less. I can reduce that. And there's your answer. Okay, m is equal to -½ Okay. All right, for example number 5. I have a point right here on the bottom left, a point to the top right. The graph is going up, so is this a positive or a negative slope? Positive, so m is equal to rise over run. So to go from my bottom left point all the way up to the height of the top right point, how many times do I have to move? Say again? How many times do I got to go up from this point to get to the same height? 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4, right? So that's going to be 4 movements. So I'm right here at this little X. How many times I got to move to the right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So my slope is 4/5. Trying to see if I can be done in 8 minutes so I can at least show up over. Are we okay with those two, guys? Any questions? Again, if you want to draw a little triangle like I used to do just to figure out the base and height, you can do that too. You don't have to, but you can do that if you want to. All right, example 6, find the slope given these 2 points. So I mean, you could just say find the slope. You don't have to put given the 2 points. But remember, there's a formula for this, okay? Your formula is m equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So remember to label your points, right? So let's call this x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. And then just plug them in, guys, and please be careful not to mess up with your signs. So remember what I told you guys, when you plug in the x1 and the y1, put those in parentheses so you don't mess up your sign changes. So y sub 2 is 10 minus y sub 1 is -3. Notice how the second number I put in a parenthesis to make sure I see the minus right there. I know I got to change that to addition. And then x sub 2 is 4 and x sub 1 is 2. What's my answer for this? Say it again. 13 over 2. Thank you. 13 over 2. Right? 10 plus 3 and 4 minus 2 is what you have to add up. Any questions on that one? See if I can get this next problem done in 4 minutes. I think I could. Not because I'm rushing, but I think it's not too bad. So find the x and y intercepts and then sketch it. Okay, so draw a picture of it after you find the x and y intercepts. So x, y, remember I told you there's a little trick to doing this. It's these diagonal zeros, okay? The top diagonal zeros, or the top 0 is going to give you your x-intercept. The bottom 0 is going to give you your y-intercept. And all you have to do is plug in y equal to 0 first and solve. And then plug in x equal to 0 and solve. And then whatever you get, that's going to give you your 2 points. Put them on a graph, connect the dots, and you're done. Okay? So here we go. This is what it's going to look like. If y is 0, x minus 0 equals 4. that means that x must be 4. So I'm going to put that right here. All right, now let's do x equal to 0. So if x equals 0, I get 0 minus y equals 4. Well, that means negative y is equal to 4. So I got to divide both sides by a negative 1, right? Notice I don't have to switch any symbols because it's an equal sign. So y equals negative 4. So let me put that right here. And now we're just going to graph. And then we're done. As we're drawing this, I want to let you guys know, yesterday, your Alex assignment went out. So that means that it's now live, okay? So you guys should be able to work on that whenever you want. Remember, you need to do 5 lessons. If you want to do more, they count as extra credit, up to 10 lessons, okay? But that is available for you guys. If you want to start tomorrow after your quiz, if you got free time, you bring out your computer, you can start doing it then. Or you can work on it tonight if you want. It's up to you. All right, so here we go. 2 points. 4, 0 is right here. 0, negative 4 is right here. And all I got to do is connect the dots. And that's it.